Very good morning, everyone. So, how are you all doing? Good. You have written so far how many tests? 15 tests. So, 15 tests in 30 days means one test every 2 days. So, I was seeing that you have written 4 ethics tests and how many essay tests? 3 essay tests. So, 3 essay tests without any choice, right? You were. Uh, that's what? Okay, okay. Good. 4 essay tests you have written. Yeah. 2 topics in 2.5 hours. So, like, you were given only 2 topics. There was no other choice. Okay, okay, okay. Good. Did you feel the difference after writing without choice and then writing with choice? Was there any difference? Hmm? There was little freedom in selecting topic of, like, of course, the freedom was again not too big here. You were again forced to write another topic, maybe which you were not comfortable with. So, how did you come up with ideas where uh, the topic was mostly uncomfortable? There were no options available. How did you force yourself, to come up with ideas, content, example? Hmm? Like that forced, that literally forced you to come with, you know, something like whatever you knew in that moment. That mainly, in a way, pushed you to think in that moment. Trying to test presence of mind and come up with whatever you were able to think in that moment. See, that is what you need to strengthen, not only cultivate, strengthen. So ultimately, what happens? Like yesterday, also I was talking to a student who is writing mains. They have prepared so many examples for all the essay topics, but what is happening is that they're not able to bring them organically in their essays. So they have a collection of examples in their notes, but they are reading them. But when it comes to exam, when they are writing the essay, it's not easy to bring them, link them with all the arguments. So I think this exercise of repeatedly writing will actually help you overcome that problem. You need to have notes for every topic. Now we have written I mean, like 8 essays you have tried. Some of you have tried minimum 4 essays, right? Those couldn't write 2 essays. You have written 4 essays in a month, right? And then some of you have written 8 essays in a month. I mean, look at it. Without core batch, would you have written 8 essays in a month? It wouldn't have been possible. I mean, impossible. So now the quality may be low, what you have written. You might have scored low marks. Now again, remaining how many months? Like other 7 months, right? Like let's take 7 months. Till March, people will have that Josh. So till next 7 months, you'll be again writing so many essay tests. Now what you need to take care of is that there is no point in writing the same stuff again and again in every essay test, in every answer, right? Because you know that there are other 2 3 rounds going to come for every GS paper and essay and ethics paper. Focus again on the quality, right? So my suggestion, don't force yourself to write 2 essays, right? So maybe you can take entire 2.5 hour to write one essay, but ensure that the examples that you have in your notes, that you have prepared, are visible in your essays, right? Maybe we can go to the extent of looking into your notes. It's okay. Then again, bringing them in your essays. So in the classroom, like open book exam, when it comes to essay, you can do it. Like the thing is, the quality must become your habit. Otherwise, what happens when you're about to write mains? At that time, you don't have to struggle with this particular aspect where you're not able to link good examples in your essays. So that you should overcome and take care of it by December. By December, you will be in a position naturally to write 2 essays in 3 hours. Where you can score 60 plus on a regular basis. But be ambitious, right? Your target should be 150 plus. To ensure that now the topics, if you have noticed, if you are writing 2 essays, sometimes examples overlap, arguments, ideas overlap, because topics sound similar. Again, from previous essay topic to next essay test also, they sound similar. And I have seen many people, like if somebody is showing me more than 10 essays, I have seen that the same examples get repeated, right? Topic may be different, they are fond of few examples. They keep getting repeated in every essay. If not in every essay, like they keep getting repeated. So that you must avoid. Every essay should have specific examples. Now, out of all the 8 topics that you have written, identify the keywords. Can you just tell me which topics you wrote, like previous essay? Hmm? You have the topics, no? Yeah, in war, truth is the first casualty. Now, about truth, the word truth, you take the word truth. So, these words like truth, knowledge, wisdom, morality, reality, right? Success, kindness, love. So, all these words are repetitive in UPSC exam. The truth, they are very fond of the word truth. So, take the word truth and also the word war. About word truth, prepare a 1-page content, right? The word on the word truth itself. So, what will you prepare? So, there should be 4 or 5 dimensions about the philosophy of the truth, right? So, what moral philosophers or any other philosophers? So, in political philosophy also people might have said something about the truth, right? In moral philosophy also people might have said something about truth. So, about truth, which are all the philosophers have, come up with their ideas, because you might have seen from the times of Socrates, Plato, philosophy about truth is a major theme in philosophy. Even today, people are still clueless about the nature of the truth, what exactly it is. So every philosopher might have identify like 3 to 4 Western philosophers, 2 to 3 Indian philosophers. What there should be a distinction in each philosophy. There will be distinction, right? Again, one's philosophy will differ from another's philosophy. So when you make note of it, their ideas in like 3 4 lines, there should be distinction. There should be uniqueness. They should be different from each other. They should not be again overlapping. You should not combine them and put them in your essay. And note down the name of the philosopher. And the next step to just to make your essay interesting. Now people have habit of quoting a philosopher and then the quote or a philosophy they'll mention it. Now what you can do is that if the philosophers themselves had an interesting life, right? They themselves had interesting life, and their life itself, if their life would have encouraged them, motivated them to come up with a philosophy, right? So can you just 1 or 2 anecdotes from their lives? Not for everyone. Like there are philosophers who committed suicide, right? There are philosophers who were hanged. There are philosophers who went mad, right? There were philosophers who traveled around the world, and they were like erratic in they had different personalities. Just one anecdote that which you can, so that will differentiate your essay. When you write a story about the personality himself or herself who is behind a particular philosophy, that if you can link with the idea itself in the topic or something, some value addition will be there, right? And then about truth, what else you can, like for example Gandhian philosophy of truth. So you will know that from where he got motivation, from you where he got inspiration to come up with the philosophy and truth. At the same time, go to the depth of his philosophy of truth, right? There is mkgandhi.org. There is a website mkgandhi.org. There, about truth, they will not only mention about what exactly is philosophy of truth, right? What truth meant to him, what are the dimensions of truth that he thought about, but also there would be certain anecdotes also, right? How he experimented with truth in different instances. So you people usually come up with what you have read in modern history, the examples you have read in Spectrum, your class notes, but there will be other anecdotes which are not part of any history textbook, the standard textbook, neither NCERT nor your standard books. So those anecdotes can again make your essay engaging and interesting. So 1 or 2 page content on truth in that way. Again, what else you can collect about truth is, so what is the notion of truth in, from the science and tech perspective, right? So there are also some uh, people who are deeply into technology. There is interdisciplinary approach in every field nowadays. There is philosophy within science and tech also. How does a scientist see a truth? So what is his perspective of truth, right? Now artificial intelligence, every technology is coming, so what is its perspective on the truth, right? So like that. And what is historical perspective, in the sense that not giving historical example, so there is always war between, history and truth, right? So they are always at loggerheads. So now from that perspective, has anybody said anything about it, right? And also, is there any mention of truth in the Constitution of India? I'm just curious, I don't know, right? Or any interpretation of the Constitution, right? Maybe by the judiciary or someone, right? I can just make up a question, okay? So the relationship between truth and the Constitution, right? So write a note like 150 words. So what will you write? Does the word truth exist in the Constitution of India? Hmm? Like you are not sure, like you have to Google it, right? I'm just curious, just came up with. So try to link things like this, right? You can link with Constitution, you can link truth with, as I said, artificial intelligence, history. Again, not with pestle approach here, just to bring diversity in terms of ideas. Similarly, on war. So these kind of examples will lift your essay up, like the quality. When a reader is reading your essay, for them it will be evident. Again, about truth, certain like 5 books about truth, 5 most important books ever written on the concept of truth. Again, that also you make a list. You don't have to read the books. If you have time is available, you read, right? So but if you can make a note of, what is the perspective they have written about the truth, right? And then what is the core idea within the book about the truth. So you make a list of that, also the author name. So in an essay, if you can quote 1 or 2 authors, 1 or 2 ideas like this, even the 3 4 such ideas, right, will compel me to give you 65 plus marks, right? Again, they should be relevant to the topic. They should not look like, artificially inserted. They should not look like, forcibly inserted. Okay. Similarly, on war you can do, right? What was the other? I have 2 topics here. Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization. So here the key word is diversity, right? About diversity and civilization, right? So on those 2 words, similarly you can make note. I used to ask this question about diversity. Why is diversity is our strength? In UPSC mock interviews, people would go clueless. They will first answer why IAS. Why do you want to become IAS officer? Because it gives diverse opportunity. No job will give this much diversity. Okay, good. So now tell me why diversity is our strength.
Diversity, each individual or particular community are unique or unique to itself. So by utilizing, optimizing their potential to the best of their ability, one can grow. One can multiply its own strength.
Good.
Because of the assimilation of different cultures and traditions.
Now how is it a strength?
Nobody can control.
Of course, there are multiple cultures there, multiple.
Different section of the people are free to do whatever they want, like different festival celebration, different
Now, why is it a strength if they are celebrating their own festivals?
nobody can indirectly uplifting their culture and their ethnicities continue. So they are free to do, so they got freedom and they are living very like democratically. In this diversity only they are uplifting the taking opportunities for everyone. Every situation is unique.
Hmm?
For any problem is there, if people are coming there, you can give their different perspective. So that will add value.
Good. we are able to get freedom because of diversity. Correct. Then correct. So that is one point. Like what he said, you said. So that is one point. Now, if I ask you, like, give me 3 points. Why diversity is our strength? Hmm?
Nobody can control the diversity. Uniformity can be controlled.
Nobody can control diversity.
I mean, you cannot, enforce your ideas and diversity. But if there is
That's a good point.
if there is uniformity, there is a possibility that other external forces can control your thoughts.
It is diversity which has strengthened our democracy, and diversity has been our insurance against despotism, dictatorship. So what she said, no, the regional politics, multiple voices demanding for different. Then, what other point you can think?
If deviations apply to one community, that community might be against the government or something, but the rest of the community might support it. So that the state keeps going, so that there will be no odd work. And even the community which gets deviated might be aligned later towards the ministry.
Okay, that is somewhere aligned with her point. Good.
Communities are interdependent, maybe profession or corruption or something.
Hmm.
Dependent because of diversity. We find some communities who are very
Hmm. Hmm. Correct, all of you are right. I'm just asking this question. So when you're in a group, you come up with multiple points, but when you're sitting alone in front of a interview panel, suddenly some people go blank, right? Now, if you have done certain brainstorming before, right, and if you have touched these kind of themes in depth, either through essay or through discussions, I think the interview will be cakewalk for you, right? So try to touch as many such kind of topics as possible when you are preparing, and it should be instant. That's what, like, presence of mind and quick thinking is very important in this exam to decide which question to answer, which topic to answer, which essay topic to choose, what kind of dimensions to come up with. And in most of the answers, like some people are showing, core batch and other mains people, what happens is that the first side of the answer will be generic. Second side of the answer will have good points with good examples, right? So most of the people have this tendency to discover their best in the process of answer writing. So the first point, second point, immediately what comes to your mind, right, in that moment. So you write something generic, and then the quality points start coming to your mind. Then you start writing them. Ensure that it is the reverse, right? So you can take a little pause after you write a subheading, right? Instead of writing what is obvious, so write what is not obvious. The quality point. Quality point is which has quality justification. That is a unique example that you have prepared as part of preparation. Similarly, in the essay, whenever you write an argument in a paragraph, when you want to justify any example that immediately comes to your mind, right? Throw it away, right? Anything that comes immediately is something, if you think it is obvious one, right? Like you are writing something about, tradition, culture, and superstition and everything. Now Rajaram Mohan Rai flashes in front of you, right? So throw him away, right? So don't mention Rajaram Mohan Rai. And the next level, now Savitribai Phule, Jyotiba Phule will come, right? Remove them. And see if you had prepared better content than them. They are good, okay, they are like great people, but everyone is writing about them. Their greatness has been reduced in the way because everybody keeps repeating the same point. Now, if you know, like in NCRT, there are anecdotes about Savitri Bai Phule, right? People don't read them. Even if you have read, you don't, recall and write them. In the, like NCRTs are really, the source of knowledge, the trove of knowledge. Now, if you check all the boxes, now stop treating NCRT only from Prelims viewpoint, right? Check all the stories. The art and culture part that is there in NCRT has so many examples, anecdotes, all Indian philosophy, right? So which you can actually use in every essay, right? So you study Indian philosophy as part of art and culture, right? You would have studied in Nitin Singhani a book, or in old Tamil Nadu, old NCRT, new NCRT. These lessons are there, but somewhere we don't recall them, or we because while reading itself we have mistreated them, like they're only for prelims or something like that. Or some people don't read, they just came through because they were all so advanced, postgraduates, graduates. So don't do that mistake. Keep going back to NCRTs every day. So three sources in this exam that will save you, them, like you don't have to note them down. One is previous year question papers. Every day, half an hour, 1 hour, you just spend like just looking at them, right? So as if you look at your, your wife, or like your lover, or your crush, right? So Bangalore Times, right? So keep looking at all the questions, previous year, both prelims and mains. You literally like analyze them, love them. You keep seeing them. They themselves will give you an idea, and in fact they will give you so much confidence when you are aware of all the past year questions, when you remember them, right? Whenever you are reading, you will know that this is important, and if you have already read about it, when you are looking at the question, that boosts your confidence. Second is syllabus. Syllabus, you might have seen it like in the beginning of your UPSC preparation, and again sometime when you wanted to make notes, right? But every day you make it a habit, right? Split topic into subtopics, keep looking at it. The third source is NCRT, right? The NCRT, in any answer, in any essay, in any UPSC aspect, what is most impressing aspect is candidates ability to give clarity on basics, express conceptual clarity. If that is evident, right, the advanced stuff, all big dimensions, even if they are missing, but the very basic clarity of all the concepts, if it is evident in all your answers and essays, then they will get you very good marks. The same happens in interview, right? People tell so advanced stuff, when I ask very basic question, they go blank, and that kind of brings down the overall impression. So never take these things for granted, right? You may be reading all uh, thick books and other things, but these are the saviors of your success. Like if you really want to successful, the basics, never ignore them, even when you are reading current affairs, right? So don't get carried away with all the advanced stuff. Look at the basics of everything, right? And if that is in when people ask about structuring, in the introduction I tell uh, students not to write the definition. So there in the introduction there should be a thoughtful line. uh, the introduction is an indication that you are a thinking individual, that you are able to think. When you are able to just lift a definition, a fact, and put it in the introduction, that shows lack of thinking, right? The overall answer should be represented in 1 or 2 lines in the introduction. So after the introduction, any keyword that is there in the question should be defined with an example, even if they are not asking in the answer. Briefly, that 1/3 part of the sheet, the first sheet, should be for good introduction and definitions or little background about the question. Sometimes there may not be a keyword, and again don't take granted if there is a like very obvious keyword in the question, right? So if the word is secularism, if the word, even if it's constitution, anything, if the word is diversity. Now if I ask define diversity, what is diversity? Hmm? Okay, what is culture? Now you know the answer, right? Everybody knows the answer. Now when I ask you to define in 1 line, 2 line, it's very difficult to gather your thoughts, right? You will take little time, and again the definition you are coming up with is your own definition, that your the diffused understanding of culture, you are trying to put it in 1 or 2 lines. right? Again, you are not perfectly aware how NCERT has defined culture, or how NCERT has defined the word freedom, right? How NCERT has defined all abstract the word truth, for example, right? So that is what I am saying. So there are keywords, there are simple words which are defined with certain illustrations in these basic books. If you define that as it is there in the book, right? I mean the actual not in the book, the actual definition of that keyword, whichever book it is. So then that will be very impressive for a reader. Got it? So don't when you, because you are core batch student or because you are writing so many things, doesn't mean that you ignore these things. Be mindful of them. And as I said in the beginning, because you are writing so much, it should be with certain progress, mainly progress in terms of the quality. Like aim should be 7.5 plus marks in 15 markers, 6 marks in 10 mark, 5.5 plus in 10 markers. So even if you write only one answer, two answer, aim for that, right? And have you noticed improvement in your speed? Like within 1 month, definitely compared to your first test, there is improvement in your last test. Am I right? Now you go back and compare. You take your first test booklet and the last test booklet. Keep your first test booklet as a trophy, as a a reference. So many toppers try to portray what the best thing they have written. So when you people become toppers, I want you to show your first copy, the first essay you wrote, and the last one, right? So that actually gives confidence to people that anybody can start from a scratch, anybody can start from zero, right? Anybody can start from being perfectly imperfect and then go on to improve these things. So preserve them and take a photo of them, put it in drive, and you keep looking back into all of your answers apart from the syllabus and previous year questions and CRTs, whatever answers you have written so far, synopsis come what answers you have written, keep looking at them, right? Keep thinking about how to improve them. What extra example you could have added? Like for example, you will have full and GS paper in few days. So before that, 2 days, all the around 20 odd tests you have written, right? About sorry, around 8 tests you have written for GS1, right? So around 8 tests, what you have written, all the questions and all the answers you have written, revise them, right? Before the test, and see. So that will give you certain clarity when you are actually writing, that you will know that previous answer I had written had made this mistake. So this point was without example. There was problem with not meeting the demand of the question. So read the comments also. When you are writing full length test, give your best and don't try to write all 20 answers, right? Even in the full length test. I mean, if you can really write, it's good. The speed has improved. If you can write, go for it. But I think last session also I told, when you are about to write, when you are writing, don't have that in your mind that you would like to complete the paper. So try to complete the answer, right? Complete one answer. Complete one answer with so all the good quality examples you can think of. So that should be your priority. So you take like 1 or 2 minutes extra, it's fine. As I said, because you are going to write so many tests, the speed will improve. You don't have to struggle, it will improve. And your target should be what? 16 to 18 answers by March or April out of 20 questions. And in this full length test, you will notice that you will be able to write minimum 12 answers. Because of so much of writing in 1 month, 12 is minimum threshold that you will be able to write. Anything above 12, if you are writing, that's a bonus. You should be very proud of yourself. If you are going to write 13 or 14, right? And there are people who were IPM student previously, they can 16 plus also they can write. So that is good, right? But for other people, those who are writing first full length mains, 12 to 14 should be your target. So choose around 6 from 15 markers, and then another like 6, 7 from 10 markers. And like I have seen many people writing geography answers without diagrams and maps. right? Make it a rule. Every page must have a diagram in every geography answer. Every page, every side. If there are two sides, two diagrams, minimum two diagrams. If you are writing three sides, minimum 3 to 4 diagrams. If you are writing geography answers without diagrams, then you are not going to score above 3 marks, right? Even with all the rich content. So you cannot explain geography without diagram and without maps. The illustration is that is part of the demand of the question, part of the answer, right? Similarly, art and culture, not every question, wherever it is relevant. So make it a habit. So you practice diagrams. See, even in the race here, like every day it might look like, an ordinary day, right? And you know you are just preparing for the exam and all. It is not like that. Every day you should have that sense of responsibility, right? That sense that you are, whatever everything you are doing is to crack this examination. Again, for most of you, not to the aim is not to just crack the examination. It is to get IAS and end the preparation, right? You don't want to again join core batch next year. Hmm? Does anybody want that? Nobody wants, right? So, what you must do? So, you must find a way to increase marks, even if it is a fraction of a mark, 1 mark, 2 mark, in every answer, like you find a way out. You should be involved in that process. It's just not like, you read something, then you come and sit, some question paper we are giving and you write and, you go. Not like that. Every test, you should have that involvement, sense of responsibility where, from previous test to this test, I am going to improve my score. You should be, in a way, mad about it without being getting mad. Like that passion should be there. So otherwise, it all becomes empty writing without any visible. I mean, what difference it makes is that when you bring passion and you do it, there will be faster progress, and you will see that the visible growth. You will see that improvements, and that stays with you for a long time. When you do something with passion and you are involved in it, you will remember stuff, and that becomes part of you. But without passion, if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, you keep forgetting it. It is the time is consuming it. Time as a monster eating everything you have done without leaving anything in your memory. Hmm? So if you have to carry them together, that's very important, right? So aim, like aim for a first rank. It is a very easy thing to do. Hmm? And if you have written 15 tests in a month, and if you are going to write another 70, right, tests in next 6, 7 to 8 months, you have a perfect chance at getting a rank in top 10, right? And you can actually, that's what, it should not be a mediocre effort. It should not be an effort for the namesake, writing. That won't get you. So all the toppers I have seen, like most of the, like including rank 1 and the, like that passion to improve. If I have to define her in one word, that improvement, even today she is like that. She wants to be the best in the things she wants to do. Improve. You might have seen certain classmates in your school, college. There will be one or maybe you people are those types. I don't know. One or two types. They know everything. They still want to know everything. They pretend they don't know anything, right? They keep torturing you. What is that? They know it, right? So you have to be like that. Pretend as if you don't know anything. Starting with smallest to the biggest information details, you should be curious to know everything. At every stage, you have to be curious. So have this thing imprinted. I mean, you don't chase the rank or anything. That will happen naturally when you are empowering yourself, when you feel that empowerment, right? So go for it and do it. We'll meet again next month. Hmm? We'll repeat the same thing again. So it is just like, somebody was asking, you only asking. come and talk to us, sir, like core batch. So once in a month is fine, right? Any doubts?
Regional leaders, whenever example, essays or ethics.
So if they are dead, you can mention. If they are dead.
For example, Virupaksha Gaurav is our regional leader.
No, not that kind of reason.
In essay also we can't.
No, it is not you can't write or you should not write.
It's fetch marks, sir. It's better to leave and think the prominent leader.
Like what is special about him?
He fought against the Rajakas, the Hijamas movement.
That you can mention. So of course, his contribution is good, no? So those things you can mention. Anything historically, I thought Virupaksha Gaurav is your local MLA. Like,
He was a freedom fighter.
definitely you should mention. No? So
Because
nothing wrong in
most
that.
people don't
Correct,
understand
correct.
anything.
No, in fact, that will be rewarded. In fact, that will be rewarded because now the dominant theme in the present times is that to revive our history. Within revival of history, to give voice to those people who were obscured, who were not brought into mainstream textbooks, history, right? So to give them recognition, and if you are doing that, you are a suitable administrator, no, you will be rewarded. But it should be like properly given the details and everything. But direct English translation. Hmm. So don't write in Kannada like KALABEDA, Kalaveda, right? Or of course you should not use your Kannada script. Directly the direct translation. For to use direct translation, there is a book by A.K. Ramanujan, The Speaking of Shiva, right? So it's available as a PDF. Even those people who are not uh, Kannadigas, you can also read that book. The name is The Speaking of Shiva. So where all Kannada vachanas, they are very uh, thoughtful, philosophical literature. So which try to reform the society through literature in common man parlance. So that is translated in English very effectively. Not only Basvana, you will see like so many vachanas are translated. A.K. Ramanujan, The Speaking of Shiva. You can, but in essay only once you should use. So don't reveal. Basvana you can use because NCRT has mentioned Basvana. Akka Mahadevi it has mentioned. So it's in a way pan-Indian names you can mention where you won't be considered as Kannadiga or something like that. But if you start mentioning 2 to 3 examples, so it will be revealed that you are from Karnataka. So that you should actually avoid your revealing your identity, regional, religion, gender, language, right? Nationality you can reveal.
Shlokas which are in Sanskrit. We should write in Sanskrit. Or we should
No, in Sanskrit you can write in Sanskrit and then English. Yes, it's not restricted to any. It's kind of a universal language, like language of the gods and language of the computer. So you can use it. Hypothetical. See, hypothetical you should write if you're really creative, right? When I read your hypothetical story, you should read like really a good story. I should be able to relate and enjoy it. If your English is not good, if you're not able to express it, then avoid it. Then go for real anecdotes. If you're good in it, definitely write it.
So the story, how long should it be?
1 to 2 paragraphs, maximum 2 paragraphs. So don't carry it to like 2 sides or 2.5 sides, like 2 paragraphs. So you should be able to judge. See, whenever you are writing anything, no, you to whom you are writing to, from the UPSC standards, right? Of course, to a reader who is well educated. Essay, I think, will be read by English professors from top universities or philosophy professors from top universities. They would have read so much in their life. They would have done so much of research, and anything obvious they see, So it's a direct 50-55 marks. Anything that matches their thinking, not entirely, even to a little bit, so you'll be able to get around 130 something. And if you're able to match their taste and their interest, right? Same thing happens in essay, ethics and interview. If you're able to match that kind of expectation, in interview it is 200 plus. This time 198 is equal to last year 206. In essay, 70 plus, like 70 to 75 marks, right? So last year it was around like 75 plus. This year 75 is kind of highest marks. So that you should be aware that your reader is not another IAS aspirant, right?
So the historical books and philosopher have
That's a good point, right? Your reader is not another IAS aspirant. So what you are writing is another IAS aspirant is writing similar, right?
So historical thinkers have a tendency to write like patriarchal words like he, man. They're
No,
not
better to
gender
write
neutral.
she. In your essay you write she,
See, not
her
slash,
and she.
not slash, he, slash.
No, how many times you'll write? While writing it becomes problematic. So go with she. Yes. Acha, yes slash he. I mean, if you can write it repeatedly without getting irritated, you can go for it. Or otherwise, just she is better.
Still transgender are not included.
Hmm?
Still transgender are not included.
Then go with S slash he. Hmm? Yeah. No, not just for example. No, like it can be to illustrate, to substantiate, to justify. For instance, to quantify, to put it qualitatively, right? To explain it through a story. You go for a different jargon, different words. For everything, it is not like for example. Again, avoid short forms like for ex, for eg, right? It's not like for example. Think maturely. Like when you are writing, see when you are writing an essay, what you are doing is that you are giving an experience to the reader, right? So it should be an experience for me when I read. So in Delhi, I was telling a student that like if 20 people are showing me essay in a day, that I am reading how many thousand words? On an average 20,000 words, right? So 20,000 words is equal to how many pages? 200 pages. It is equivalent to a small book. And what am I learning when I am reading these 20 essays? Nothing. Hmm? Literally nothing. Right? If I invest the same time and read a book every day, right? I won't be standing here maybe like, right? So I'll be like Shashi Tharoor talking here and then, right? Got it? No, that is a kind of disappointment I get. Even then I involve and read, but very few people out of 200 pages, like if I said 20,000 words, hardly like few hundred words will be something of value that I get excited to read about, right? So otherwise everybody writes everything that is already known to everyone, right? So that is what you have to differentiate. I have told many times, bring originality, individuality, right? You are a person with so many experiences, everyone. So don't discount them, don't ignore them, right? It can be small or big, you have gone through so many experiences. Now, from a storyteller perspective, can you tell that experience, right? From a third person perspective. Maybe you can add some spice to that, right? Some extra details and dimensions. So try to present it. So that will be a new thing for me. I haven't lived your life, right? So in your village, in your neighborhood, right? So in your school, college, you would be having different stories to tell. So that if you are intelligent, smart, you can use them is part of arguments. Similarly, the one thing I recommend everyone, reading books. If you have read very good books, go back to those books. You might have read, adventures books in school days, college days. You might have read. Even it can be a Chetan Bhagat book, right? You don't have to mention Chetan Bhagat and his book name, but that book might have given you certain story or something, right? So at least you can use them in your. It is just like you have to keep your mind open whenever you are writing these essays. You should not be like restricted. When you're writing, don't keep thinking about your notes and you know uh, the GS stuff that you have read, the current affairs you have read. You have to keep your mind open. So that is why I tell you take more time, but pause, think, and answer. And people who are writing directly without brainstorming, I think majority cases they are getting better marks, right? In Delhi also, here also, and sometimes in the beginning you might not get, but when you start doing that, so if the preparation in the background is good, if you studied well at home, when you come directly and write, without much, see, do 5 minute, 5 to 10 minute brainstorming only of ideas, what ideas to write, and then just go with the flow. That becomes a really very good essay. I mean, you won't see compartments and all. The flow will be there. So you pause and you think of a better example. So whatever 20 minutes you want to invest in brainstorming, while writing the essay, 2 to 3 minutes after each paragraph or idea, pause and think. Right. That automatically solves the problem of coherence. Hmm? Fine. So all the best.